Katie.
Hi, Papa Darby.
Oh, you said that's the first time I've heard Papa Darby spoken to me. Like that's the very
really?
first time. Yeah, I'm the only one that's saying it.
That is so awkward.
Yeah. So I was thinking about that today, and like I really hate the fucking name now. And when I came up with it, so Darby's my middle name, and I was thinking, I think I had just like gotten off a American Horror Story binge, and in there is a voodoo god named Papa Legba, and so I was going that route. But then when he started recording it and shit, it turned into more like a Papa John's type vibe, and then that motherfucker ruined everything for Papa anything. So yeah, now I'm stuck with it because
That's super
we have
funny.
this is number 62 of that being my moniker.
Oh my gosh. Well, I can't believe it took me a year to figure out that your middle name is Darby.
That's the first time you heard that?
Yep.
Yeah, in the beginning, Scott and I were trying to decide how we're going to do this and stuff. And, you know, this being kind of a taboo subject, we didn't really want to publicly embrace the culture yet. So we came up with that, and that's what happened. Scott isn't his actual real name either.
I know that one.
And you are Katie the Matey, which is entirely your real name. You're
Oh my god.
It's weird. On your birth certificate, it says the Matey on it. Your mom showed me and everything. I was kind of disappointed, but so give us your best R.
Arr.
Hi.
I have 2 little boys. We do a lot of pirate stuff.
Nice. Pirate things are always fun.
Yeah.
So
I live in Florida. They're like run rampant here.
So everybody, this is the Higher Minds podcast, and I am Papa Darby. That I am talking to Katie the Matey. Arr. And
Arr.
You might be wondering where Scott is this week. Katie, do you know where Scott is? What'd you do with him?
I do not. He's not in my basement.
Do you think maybe he knew a little too much and he got a little too depressed?
Oh,
got a little Clinton?
Put a scarf on the door. Red scarf.
Yeah, I mean, he was not talking at all about how sad he was about the world. No, actually, so what's going on with Scott? The reason he's not here and Katie is filling his big ass shoes. So a couple weeks ago we did a little bit on Beauty and the Beast, particularly the Beast, and so in an overabundance of dedication to the Higher Minds podcast, he went undercover, and he is now underground. He's been texting me back and forth about this, and he's super excited this. But he's in this he's in this underground beast furry. Like beast is like a subset of the furry movement. Like he's in this underground beast furry convention. Like he's at this weekend long thing. Turns out I was right. A bunch of human dicks outside of flopping outside of a beast costume. He's got all sorts of pictures.
Perfect.
Yeah. But there's no evidence of when he comes back, there's no evidence of all the mushroom stamps that he got because he was covered in a beast costume.
Well.
So it's the perfect thing. But so he's off, getting stuffed by an ox thing.
Oof.
No, we know. He sent me pictures. I'll post them.
I'd like to see that.
No, you
You're
don't.
Probably right.
No, you don't. How has your week been?
It has been crazy busy. So,
yeah,
what you been doing? And work has just been exceptionally busy because it's outside, and I think people feel safe outside, and they like to push the boundaries. And so there we are. I'm with them, and there are lots of them. And online schooling, that is really something. And I
did a little bit of that with this weekend with my son.
How'd that go for you? They're a little older, so maybe better.
So I have a crazy good motivator. So actually it went pretty well this weekend.
That's good. I have there is no shame. I have a secret stockpile of like the miniature Monster Jam trucks in the garage, and anytime it like desperate times, I'm like, bro, look, I got a brand new one right here. Do what you're supposed to do, and you can have this in 20 minutes.
Desperate times, not desperate times, inconvenient times. I'm a little hungover times. Yeah.
Listen, sometimes I just need you to sit down and do 10 math acts and it not take an hour. So,
Yeah.
bribes work. I don't care
Yeah.
what
It
anyone
takes.
says.
It's. This has turned into parent corner, but the amount of energy they fucking expend
Oh,
trying to not do it,
yes.
like when they really don't want to do it, it's like, dude, it's just easier to just fucking do
Yes,
it.
yes. And I'm forever trying to stay calm and say that, and he's just not having it at all. And he's so smart, that's what's frustrating.
Yeah.
So I feel like he thinks he's like, this is below me. I don't want to do this, and I definitely don't want to do it with you. So, ugh. He's 6.
For the listeners, for the listeners at home and in your car, she put a little stank on that. She bobbed her head and shit.
Yeah, it's like
Because that's
a
what I guess what that's
whole
what her son
thing.
does.
Yeah, it's true. We
Her
all
son's
kinda
napping
do
her fingers and her Linda.
it. Listen, how many more pages?
So.
That's what I get. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I can go on and on. That's my week.
Oh yeah,
That's my every week now.
Parents.
Thanks for asking.
So guess what I got this week?
Oh, tell me.
You know what I got. You know what I got. I showed
Pew,
you.
pew,
I think I
pew.
showed you.
Pew pew.
Yeah, I got a fucking VR rig. So I no longer need reality. That's pretty cool. But the crazy fucking thing about it is if you go back and listen to our simulation theory episode, did you listen to that one?
I believe I did. I believe I did. I listened to a
Going
lot
back
in a
and
few
forth.
days.
Oh, yeah. Going back and forth between the VR world and reality, it makes a lot of it's very easy to see that that's a very distinct possibility. But anyway, it's fucking badass. It's very, very fucking cool. And you were talking about working, so I'm also working during this thing, and I grew up in the ghetto. I have been homeless. I know what the fuck it is to be destitute and desperate, and I know what that feels like. That you can't sleep, you can't eat because of that anxiety. But I'm not that way now, and I'm very grateful for that. And I feel empathetic towards the people that aren't working, and I feel bad for them. And I kind of feel guilty that I am continuing to work and I have a very good job. And I'm basically loving this fucking COVID shit. And I kind of going to ask you, is that what white guilt feels like? White guilt feels like?
I guess if you stop and think about it, probably, but maybe I just got exposed for not.
But I ain't got no white guilt. Fuck them. I got my shit. You don't know me.
Oh, we all got to do us. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, so what are we talking about today, matey?
Well, syphilis. We are talking about syphilis today.
Well, that is a gross minimization of the situation. It doesn't matter. So you fucking texted me that shit too. We're going to talk about syphilis? No, we're not talking about fucking syphilis. It doesn't matter if it's syphilis or COVID or the flu or any. It doesn't matter what the fuck it is. But it's so it's the Tuskegee experiments, and for anybody who doesn't know what that is, within our lifetimes, not just it ended recent. 8 years before I was born. It was extremely recent.
Yes.
The American government was unwittingly infecting and studying a particular group of American citizens, of vulnerable American citizens, under the guise of free healthcare and just study.
Right. Meals, burial insurance.
So I'm going to dive right in, and I'm going to start talking about this shit because I got a bunch to say. First, my sources are CDC.gov. I figured that was a pretty decent source to get this. Although I did notice that the way that they put it is not nearly as nefarious as it actually is. It was, they made it a little happier.
Sure
Um,
did.
did you check out that website too?
Uh-huh.
That, and then you compare it to Wikipedia, and like, yeah, which is the other source that I have. It's Wikipedia is a lot
Right.
more honest about what the
Even the
fuck they did.
story, yeah. Even the story on like the history channel, like
I didn't
it
see
was
that.
even more played up. Yeah. It would just told a little bit more because it told a little bit more about the Guatemala
Oh yeah,
experiments too.
I have a little bit about that
So,
at the end.
yep. Same Z.
Twinsies.
Sure.
All right. So, in 1932, the Public Health Service, working with Tuskegee Institute, began a study to record the natural history of syphilis, in which I know that you love that word, syphilis, in hopes of justifying
Gross.
treatment programs for blacks. It was called the Tuskegee Study of Untreated Syphilis in the Negro Male. Very, very non-problematic title. An idea, and yeah, everything's totally cool with that shit. The purpose of the study was to observe the natural history of untreated syphilis. The African American men in the study were only told they were receiving free health care from the federal government of the United States. Motherfuckers. The study involved 600 black men, 399 with syphilis, and 201 who did not have the disease. The study was conducted without the benefit of parents' informed consent. Researchers told the men they were being treated for bad blood, a local term used to describe several ailments, including syphilis, anemia, and fatigue. In truth, they did not receive the proper treatment needed to cure their illness. In exchange for taking part in the study, the men were told they would receive free medical exams, free meals, and burial insurance, which is a hole in the back of the hospital. I
Right. Mass
yeah,
grave.
I can't prove that, but and I didn't read that specifically, but he's dead. Let's just toss him out back.
Yeah. Most of them didn't have anyone checking on them, so how would they know? I mean,
Well,
they're
I mean,
dead, they're
even
gone.
from 32 to okay, so this fucking shit lasted 40 years, from 32 to 72. Even if they did have people checking on them, the people
Yeah.
checking on them were their black families, which they don't give a fuck about them.
Yeah. They'd
Which
probably take a buyout, you know what I mean?
yeah, well, it's not even that. They're not considered human back then. They
Right.
don't care. These people come asking questions.
These
They
were
say,
mice to these people.
right. And I mean, if you go, a black person back then starts questioning the wrong person the wrong way, they're going to get lynched, and they knew it. And
Right.
so, I mean, they might have checked on them, but there's only so much that population, and that's why they were vulnerable. They could do, and that's why they use this population, because the government didn't see them as human. Obviously, fucking obviously. And up until 1972, and notice the dates kind of bracket World War II and Operation Paperclip. That didn't get past me at all. Anyway, to continue. The men were told that the study was only going to last 6 months, but it actually lasted 40 years until 1972. The 40-year Tuskegee study of untreated syphilis in the Negro male study was a major violation of ethical standards. Duh. Researchers knowingly failed to treat patients appropriately after the 1940s validation of penicillin was found as an effective cure for the disease that they were studying. So they had the cure. They were still initially infecting these people to study what happens, telling them that there is no cure when it's widely known, the public knew about this cure, but the thing is these men also did not know that they actually had syphilis. They had bad blood.
Right. That was the alarming part to me, is how they just threw that into bad blood, and anyone who dies could just have it, and that's what we're going to say it was, bad blood.
Yep. I understand
Wild.
there are many COVID victims with gunshot wounds.
Yeah. It's we have a couple regular nurses that work at Tampa General, and she said it's
Tampon General.
alarming how
Ha 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 ha. I'm sorry.
oh my
I'm
god, they're
15.
so funny. um she said it's alarming how many they're marking suicides, murders, anything that comes in that tests positive for COVID gets marked as death by COVID.
Yeah.
Wild.
It is.
Mm,
But I mean, what do you expect from Tampon General?
I know. It sounds dirty, gross, a little smelly.
Jesus. By 1947, penicillin had become the standard treatment for syphilis. Choices available to the doctors involved in the study might have included treating all syphilitic subjects and closing the study, or splitting off a control group for testing with penicillin. Instead, the Tuskegee scientists continued the study without treating any participants. They
For
withheld penicillin
25
and
years.
information for 40 years.
And
Oh, you
after
mean
they found the cure. Yeah, yeah,
after?
sorry.
Yeah. You're right. I'm sorry. Um, They withheld penicillin and information about it from the patients. In addition, scientists prevented participants from accessing syphilis treatment programs available to other residents in the area. The study continued under numerous. But the way that they do that shit is they say if you want to continue with our treatment, you're not allowed to see any other doctor. If you do, we won't treat you at all. Go,
Avoid.
goodbye.
Right.
The thing is that would have been the right choice, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Nothing. Sorry. Just making noises, agreeing, being the tree in the back.
Be the tree. The study continued under numerous public health service supervisors until 1972, when a leak to the press resulted in its termination on November 16th of that year. So, I mean, for 40 years, there was all of these people in on this fucking horrible secret that knew about this horrible fucking thing that they were doing to the public. And the only reason they stopped is because they were about to be held accountable.
Yes.
Knowing that they would be held accountable.
This was only 48 years ago. So that happened for 40 years, and this was only 48 years ago. Like
8 years before I was born. Most of our parents were alive during this. Yeah.
Yes. Like, wow. People suck. And it wasn't even that long ago they sucked dramatically more.
More? Or the better... Not as good
at keeping secrets. We just know about it rapidly now.
Yeah. We'll learn in another 40, 50, 60 years what they're doing now.
Yeah.
So victims of this study, all African-American, included numerous men who died of syphilis, 40 wives who could disease, and 19 children who were born with congenital syphilis. So, I mean, they fucking destroyed families for fun.
Yes. Lives.
Like,
yes.
They had the cure. They didn't have to do this.
Did they stop and think, yeah, there's a cure, so no matter what, live or die, like, if this gets blown up, they'll be okay? Was like that their mindset? Like, that's still not okay.
Like, that's major Nazi shit.
Right.
That's what fucking
like. What is the mindset
Mengele did?
Though, that is, yeah, this is fine. Yeah. This is totally fine.
Yeah.
We need to know, and these are just sacrifices we have to make.
Right. Do you know who Mengele was? Joseph Mengele. I think it was Auschwitz. He was the butcher of Auschwitz. I believe. Well, anyway, his particular course of study was twins. And what they were trying to do, the ultimate goal was to make as many twin Aryans as possible, as quick as possible, and pump them out. But turns out the science and the study in Mengele, he just wasn't good at it, and it wasn't panning out. But he continued to do it for fun when he didn't have to do it. And that's what the fuck's happening here.
Yeah.
So on May 16th, 1997, President Bill Clinton formally apologized on behalf of the United States to the victims of the experiment. The venereal disease...
I thought that was interesting.
What's that? That he was the one that...
I thought that was interesting. Yeah.
So, I mean...
Because then Hillary's the one that ties into the Guatemala. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. A couple more dots to connect.
Oh, I didn't read that, but I'm interested in that. But I mean, yes. It's my opinion that it's ironic that it's Bill Clinton. Like, the only more ironic person would have been fucking JFK. Where am I? Okay, so the venereal disease section of the U.S. Public Health Service formed a study group in 1932 at its national headquarters. Taliaferro Clark, that's one name, or two names, was credited with founding it. His initial goal was to follow untreated syphilis in a group of black men for 6 to 9 months and then follow up with a treatment phase. When he understood the intention of the other study members to use deceptive practices, Clark disagreed with the plan to conduct an extended study. He retired the year after the study began. So, I mean, the person actually interested in the science was interested in good science. It was all these sociopaths afterwards that said, this group is expendable. Let's just, fuck them. Just fuck them. Let's make money off of it. I mean, because all these people were being paid as well. I mean, this is a 40-year industry, micro industry. So, I mean, in addition to just, in addition to the science and just fucking them, I mean, these people were getting paid. So that's even more wicked, I think. They didn't want to shut down the money train.
Yeah, and it always seems to boil down to that.
And power and the oppression of a certain sect of people.
I think people are going to be surprised because at what point do you start saying, when obviously is money, things, people not enough to like feed that desire of power and like being on top? So what is next? And I think
you buy an island and fuck children.
Yeah. You sacrifice them for their blood and fountain of youth. Like, you know what I mean? I think there's just a lot people aren't ready to hear. And that's unfortunate that people would rather not hear than want to be part of the solution because it hurts their feelings. Like, that sucks.
Solution.
And the same thing was happening here. Obviously, people knew and they didn't say shit.
A lot of people. The fucking government.
Yeah.
It's not like they didn't have oversight.
Yeah.
I mean, the government doesn't allow things to happen that they're paying for.
The first handful of, you know what I mean? Like,
for the entire time it was approved. It was just disapproved when it got to the papers.
Yeah, it's this next one that went on afterwards. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah. Although Clark is usually assigned blame for conceiving the Tuskegee study, Thomas Perrin Jr. is equally, if not more, deserving of originating the notion of a non-treatment experiment in Macon County, Alabama. As the health commissioner of New York State and former head of the PHS Venereal Disease Division, Perrin was asked by the Rosenwald Fund to make an assessment of their survey and demonstration projects in 6 southern states. Among his conclusions was the recommendation that if one wished to study the natural history of syphilis in the Negro race uninfluenced by treatment, this country, Macon, would have been an ideal location for such a study. Fuck that dude. But he's not wrong. I mean, that's right. Although Clark is... did I just... Oh, I reprinted that. Yeah. I have less than 7 pages. So Raymond A. Vonderler was appointed on-site director of the research group and developed the policies that shaped the long-term follow-up section of the project. His method of gaining consent of the subjects for spinal taps to look for signs of neurosyphilis was by portraying this diagnostic test as a special free treatment. So they were extracting samples from these people via spinal tap. That's no small fucking thing. And saying that was actually helping them when there was no actual benefit to the person, just risk.
Right.
Participants were not told their diagnosis, which is wildly unethical. Vonderler retired as head of the venereal disease section in 1943, shortly after the antibiotic penicillin had first been shown to be a cure for syphilis. So fuck that guy too. I hope he's in hell.
Right.
Now, check out this bitch. So registered nurse Eunice Rivers, who had trained at Tuskegee Institute and worked at its affiliated John Andrew Hospital, was recruited at the start of the study to be the main contact with the participants of the study. So she was their token black woman who was the person who recruited all the black men to do this. And, she's the one that gained their trust. In other words, she is the Ghislaine Maxwell of the situation. So during the Great Depression of the 1930s, the Tuskegee study recruited poor, lower-class African Americans who could not afford health care by offering them the chance to join Miss Rivers' Lodge. Ugh. Patients were told they would receive free physical examinations at Tuskegee University, free rides to and from the clinic, hot meals on examination days, and free treatment for mild ailments. Based on the available healthcare resources, Rivers believed that the benefits of the study to the men outweighed the risk, which it didn't for 25 years. There was no benefit to the studies. None, like zero. They had penicillin. It was fine. Didn't need to have any more. So in 1943, Congress passed the Henderson Act, a public health law requiring testing and treatment for venereal disease. By the late 1940s, doctors, hospitals, and public health centers throughout the country routinely treated diagnosed syphilis with penicillin. However, the Tuskegee experiment continued to avoid treating the men who had the disease. The period following World War II, the revelation of the Holocaust and related Nazi medical abuses brought about changes in international law. Now, we're talking about after World War II, which was 1945, 1946, right? Still, far cry from 1972. Right. So Western Allies formulated the Nuremberg Code to protect the rights of research subjects. In 1964, the World Health Organization's Declaration of Helsinki specified that experiments involving beings needed the informed consent of participants. So these are war crimes that these motherfuckers are committing. Like, literal, legitimate war crimes. Right. So, but no one appeared to have reevaluated the protocols of the Tuskegee study according to the new standards and in light of treatment available for the disease, which is fatal 8 to 58% of the time. How fatal is COVID? 3%? 4%? Not 8 to 58%.
Yeah. Minuscule.
Not even close.
Right.
On July 25th, 1972, word of the Tuskegee study was reported by Gene Heller of the Associated Press. The next day, the New York Times carried it on its front page, and the story captured national attention. Peter Buxton, a whistleblower who was a former PHS interviewer for venereal disease, had leaked information after failing to get a response to his protests about the study within the department. He gave information to the Washington Star and the New York Times. John R. Heller Jr. of PHS, who in later years of the study led the national division, still defended the ethics of the study, stating, "The longer the study, the better the ultimate information we would derive." Author James Jones editorialized about Heller, suggesting that his opinion was the men's status did not warrant ethical debate. So, because they were black people, there's no ethical issue. They're lab rats. They were subjects, not patients. Clinical material, not sick people. In 1966, Peter Buxton, a PHS venereal disease investigator in San Francisco, sent a letter to the National Director of the Division of Venereal Diseases to express his concerns about the ethics and morality of the extended Tuskegee study. The Center for Disease Control, the CDC, which by then controlled the study, reaffirmed the need to continue the study until completion. The CDC said, "Yeah, we got penicillin," and this was 1966. So I mean, still very recent memory. The CDC, the people who have confined us into our house, said that nah, it's okay that we're doing this. Just carry on. Oh, I'm sorry, and I didn't even finish that sentence. So let me just say this again. The Center for Disease Control, which by then controlled this study, reaffirmed the need to continue the study until completion, i.e., until all subjects had died and had been autopsied.
Wowzers.
So, yeah, that is cold ass fucking shit. Yeah.
But I mean,
so to bolster, yeah.
No, I'm just thinking in my head, like, to even get these jobs, like, you just have to be that kind of person anyways. Like, your job is to do the job, no matter the cost, life. I mean,
well, so
your own,
from a scientific, and from a cold, calculating scientific reasoning, yes, that's right. They are subjects, not patients, but it was not informed, and it was one vulnerable group who it was decided for them that they weren't worth the consideration. And I mean, in like medical school, you're trained to extent to compartmentalize and distance yourself from
Taking it home
life. Well, that's part of it, but yeah, from life and the study thereof, because in the end, the science is valuable all around, even if you have to sacrifice this little bit of life here. Not that's actually not. I'm not condoning this practice at all. So to bolster its position, the CDC. Yay, kill them all. To bolster its position, the CDC received unequivocal support for the continuation of the study, both from local chapters of the National Medical Association, representing African American physicians, and the American Medical Association, the AMA. So the two bodies that two of the bodies that license medical doctors, they said, "Yeah, this is cool. Go ahead, continue." As part of the settlement of a class action lawsuit subsequently filed by the NAACP on behalf of the study participants and their descendants, the U.S. government paid $10 million, $51.8 million in 2019, and agreed to provide free medical treatment to surviving participants and to surviving family members infected as a consequence of the study. Congress created a commission empowered to write regulations to deter such abuses from occurring in the future. So they give these people money, a little bit of money, and said, okay, we're good, we're fixed. I don't mean harping this, but I'm going to circle back to Operation Paperclip, where these people, these Nazis, were really fucking up humanity, like mutilating humanity beyond recognition, and they were installed, like taken and given privilege and money and power and the ability to grow their ideology and their thoughts and their organization under the protection of the American government.
Right.
So these guys got power. These other guys just got a little bit of money.
No big thing.
So in 1994, What's that?
No big thing.
Nah, fuck them.
Just 600 lives.
Fuck them. Just autopsy them. Cut them open. We need to see what's inside. Even though they're not the same as us, because they're just fucking animals. And we think that we're not. There's a
cure, but we need to see them all die.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's funner. In 1994, a multidisciplinary symposium was held on the Tuskegee study. Doing Bad in the Name of Good was the title, the Tuskegee Syphilis Study and Its Legacy, at the University of Virginia. Following that, so in our Past Lives episode, there is a study, there is a department within their psychology department that studies past lives and reincarnation at the University of Virginia. We covered that in our Past Lives episode. I said. Yeah. Past Lives episode.
Yes.
HigherMindsPodcast.com. There's your commercial. All right. So following that, the interested parties formed the Tuskegee Syphilis Study Legacy Committee to develop ideas that had arisen at the symposium. It issued its final report in May of 1996. The committee had two related goals. One, President Bill Clinton should publicly apologize for past government wrongdoing related to the study. Not everything, just that study. Because this is the only wrong thing that U.S. government has done, or any government has done. And two, the committee and relevant federal agencies should develop a strategy to redress the damages. They decided money would do that. A year later, on May 16, 1997, a year later, Bill Clinton formally apologized and held a ceremony at the White House for surviving Tuskegee study participants. Just wanted to make sure that there was none like on the brink, just about to die. So, weed those out and then let the survivors come.
See you in a year.
So he said, what was done cannot be undone, but we can end the silence. We can stop turning our heads away. We can look at look at you in the eye and finally say, on behalf of the American people, what the United States government did was shameful, and I am sorry. To our African American citizens, I am sorry that your federal government orchestrated a study so clearly racist. The revelations of mistreatment under the Tuskegee syphilis study are believed to have significantly damaged the trust of the Black community towards public health efforts in the United States.
Do you think is that a
What the
thing?
fuck?
Is that a
How
thing
is
for you?
that? Yeah, it's a very for me. I'm just paranoid anyway. I don't trust anybody, but
Don't really do doctors, anyways.
I do. I mean,
I
I'm
know.
health conscious in that fashion,
I'm
but
not. I went to the doctor 3
um,
times when I had children.
wow,
Yeah.
wow. But I mean, how useful is that fucking sentence? Like, of course, the Black community is not going to trust the health profession. Like, it was all of the health professionals conspiring against them. Like, all of them.
Right.
So observers believe that the abuses of the study may have contributed to the reluctance of many poor Black people to seek routine preventive care. A 1999 survey showed that 80% of African American men believed the men of the Tuskegee syphilis experiment had been injected with syphilis. A 2016 paper published by the National Bureau of Economic Research finds that the historical disclosure of the Tuskegee experiment in 1972 is correlated with increases in medical mistrust and morality and decreases in both outpatient and inpatient physician interactions for older Black men. Our estimates imply life expectancy at age 45 for Black men fell up to 1.4 years in response to the disclosure, accounting for approximately 35% of the 1980 life expectancy gap between Black and white men. However, others so they're blaming the disclosure of this information. By the way, they're not blaming the study. They're
Right.
just blaming that they found out.
We're just mad we got caught.
Yeah, that sucks. It wasn't wrong before that. However, other studies such as the Tuskegee Legacy Project questionnaire have challenged the degree to which knowledge of the Tuskegee experiment have kept Black Americans from participating in medical research. I mean that's just one thing. Maybe that's not everything, but that's definitely a part. Anyway, so the study shows that even though Black Americans are 4 times more likely to know about the syphilis trials than are whites, they are 2 to 3 times more willing to participate in biomedical studies. Oh, okay. Other studies conclude that the Tuskegee syphilis trial has played a minor role in the decisions of Black Americans to decline participation as research subjects. Of the studies that have investigated the willingness of Black Americans to participate in medical studies, they have not drawn consistent conclusions related to the willingness and participation in studies by racial minorities. Some of the factors that continue to limit the credibility of few studies is how awareness differs significantly across studies. For instance, it appears that the rates of awareness differ as a function of method of assessment. Study participants who reported awareness of the Tuskegee syphilis trials are often misinformed about the results and issues, and awareness of the study is not reliably associated with unwillingness to participate in scientific research. Distrust of the government, in part formed through the study, contributed to persistent rumors during the 1980s in the Black community that the government was responsible for the HIV/AIDS crisis by having deliberately introduced the virus to the Black community as some kind of experiment. That would not shock me. If I heard that, I'd be like,
Right.
yeah, that dog hunts.
Yeah.
In February 1992, on ABC's Primetime Live, journalist Jay Shadler interviewed Dr. Sidney Olansky, Public Health Services Director from the study from 1950 to 1957. Smack dab in the fucking middle. 7 years of it. That's not a small amount of time. When asked about the lies that were told to the study subjects, Olansky said the fact that they were illiterate was helpful. The fact that they were illiterate was helpful too, because they couldn't read the newspapers. If they were not, as things moved on, they might have been reading newspapers and seeing what was going on. Fuck that motherfucker.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine like getting a hold of like something that said there was a cure 6 years ago, and here you are.
Well, but they didn't even fucking know that they had it.
Yeah, man. It's just wild.
So even if they
Everything
did
about
know,
it is so wrong.
yeah. So like even if they did know, they were sitting there reading the paper. Oh, penicillin cures syphilis. They'd sit there and think, oh, that's good for the people who have syphilis.
Thank God I'm in this research study.
I get free healthcare.
Free burial.
Ugh.
That's a bitch.
That's a deal.
I want to make my family dig a 6
That's
foot
such a good
hole.
deal. I can't afford not to do it. So on January 3rd, 2019, U.S. District Judge stated that Johns Hopkins University,
Oof.
Bristol Myers Squibb, and the Rockefeller Foundation must face that's another good one. Must face a $1 billion. Yeah. Anyway, they must face a $1 billion lawsuit for their roles in a similar experiment affecting Guatemalans, which I don't really know too much about. That's all I have to say about it.
Well.
So back to you, matey.
So they did some similar type experiments from in Guatemala with their government, worked with them in hand on just prisoners, soldiers, already mental patients, and they were actually infected with syphilis because they wanted to see if penicillin could prevent, not just cure, syphilis.
So they would give them penicillin and then be like, here, take this shot. Or here, get fucked by this dude. Because they were prisoners, in fact.
Literally, inject them with it and wanted to see. Just literally the same thing. Just wanted to. And it was 700 men and women. 700 men and women over 2 years.
All prisoners?
No, some of them
were there
soldiers,
any others?
Some of them were the mental patients. So it wasn't just men.
So
I thought that was.
Was there anybody who was informed?
No, this was all without any knowledge or consent at all.
Wow, that's fucked up.
Just to see if they had the cure, but just to see if they could prevent it. So some never received treatment at all. Even though there was the cure proven. I mean, they had it because they were trying to see if it could prevent it, not just cure it. So they knew the cure and were never treated the people that they injected with syphilis. So, wow. It took place, like I said, with the government's help. And the researcher in charge.
Well, not just government; those were U.S. companies too. In fact, it looks like that the government is not taking is not being held accountable for it, but that the U.S. companies are.
Right, which is bananas.
Another product of Guatemala.
Right, but it was Dr. John Cutler, so he went on to be like a lead researcher, and you're just like, wow, so you were already like fucked up. You're like, you were fine using people as lab rats and went on to do it again for somebody else. Like, oof. But what I thought was interesting about it was that when this all came out, and it didn't come out until later, that Hillary Clinton was the one who apologized. Just ridiculous. I just think it's interesting how Hillary always pops up with a lot of things, with a lot of dirty businesses.
Yeah.
But it was her and because she was secretary at the time, and Secretary Kathleen Sebelius. I don't know how to say her name. I never remember.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Okay, good. That was a total guess. But
well,
she's
it's not Carter.
Involved. Nope. She's involved in a bunch of stuff too. Interesting things not tied to this, but like she sits on the seat at Estee Lauder, who is accused of a lot of this child trafficking, and it all ties into the Clintons. And I just thought it was an interesting choice of people to make this apology for such gruesome thing when they are in fact involved in gruesome things themselves.
Yeah. And so
her husband, and then Obama, he apologized. He called and apologized for their experiments, their role in the experiments.
I gotta say though, Obama has a little more
people.
Yeah. Well, Obama has a little more legs to what am I trying? Has more legs under him than either of the Clintons, being black himself. That affected his community, and there's no reason to think that he wouldn't have been part of the experiment had he lived then, or he did live then, so.
I don't know. I don't know about him either. I think he's tied into a handful of these Clinton shenanigans as well. So I just thought it was an interesting grouping of people apologizing.
So, but these...
Yeah, I've read several. We'll have to delve into another time, but there's some very interesting theories about Obama. It's just fun. I read it for fun. I don't read it because it's I believe every single thing I read. I like to read all the theories instead of reading books. I don't really care for books or magazines. I like to read theories. Whatever speaks to me. I think that there's a little bit of truth in every single thing. Take what works for you. Let the rest roll off your back. We don't gotta fight about it. And then come up with your own conclusions. I mean, that's what you should be doing anyways. But it's fun for me.
So I resist Obama conspiracies more than others because
I saw it in your
there's
face.
a lot more motivation to fuck with that dude than all of the other ones.
More motivation than people have for Trump now? It's just a different grouping of...
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah, in addition to being the other guy, the other guy's party, he was fucking black. I mean, people fucking hated that.
But there were so many people that loved it. Clearly, he won.
Some, yeah. Well, but then again, he was also who the DNC picked for us. So, and they've done it twice now with fucking Clinton and now Biden. Who the fuck wants Biden? I hate Trump. I don't want Trump.
Creepy. He's a people smeller.
I think he's a notch above Trump, but just barely. He's a half step.
No way. He touches children.
No
way.
Trump and fucking Epstein were friends too. I'm sure he's touched child or two. Maybe even his own daughter.
Oh gosh. Oh heavens. I feel like I'm one of very few people. I'm not saying that I'm out here fully supporting. I'm not into it like that. But I think he's funny, and I can appreciate his brazen personality and not giving a fuck what anyone thinks about what he just said. Rather, it's true, wrong, right, sideways, yellow, purple. It's so funny to me. So
I think he cares very much. He's very ego driven. He very much cares about what people think.
I think he does things to piss people off too, and I equally think that's funny.
Yeah, who the fuck wants that guy though?
Clearly, there's enough that do.
But I mean, not really. Less than half of Americans. So this is not a political show, and we're not going to do this without Scott either. So, yeah, and he has opinions, but yeah, he has opinions, and they're just as valid as anybody else's. So,
and that's just it. That's what's so fun about it is there are so many opinions on it that it's just fun to see where everyone's mind goes, what motivates their truth. Because just with anything, you can both read the Bible and take completely different things out of it. It speaks to you differently at different points in your life. I think everything does, and so theories are just.
So not only are you bringing fucking politics into this, but you're bringing religion too.
I'm a one-hit wonder.
But
I don't mean to.
I mean, yeah, no,
I'm not overly into either of those things.
I've never read the Bible, but I don't really care about it too much. Yeah. My official position is I'm anti-religion, all religion. There's not a person on earth that has it right. There's never been a person on earth that has it right. And so all of it is ridiculous and based on just whatever the fuck some guy said or thought a long time ago.
I love me some Jesus, but I don't love me some religion. That's for sure.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
The end.
And you're allowed to.
If you're giving your stance, I wanted to give mine.
Sure. Absolutely.
That's why I think this isn't... Sure. You go ahead. But that's what I do enjoy about you guys is you can have very different opinions, and it's okay. that's okay.
It is okay.
It's okay to think
This is
differently.
America.
It's okay to believe different things. It's still fun. You can still be friends.
Jesus fought, died for your
Friends. Mateys.
Jesus fought and died for your right to have a different opinion.
Yeah, and then I'm in America, so double whammy. I didn't move to America. I'm not from anywhere else.
So, man, I'm getting my COVID beard, and DeWine, the governor of Ohio, has fucking extended for another month. So I'm home for at least another month. I'm gonna get the braids, motherfucker.
Hey.
Oh yeah.
Oh, beat it.
Yeah,
beat it up.
braids and beads. Fuck yeah.
Island style.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make you some beard oil and send it to you.
Awesome. I was thinking about that too, because I am actually.
Do you take care
What's
of that?
that?
You look like a clean person. Do you do that? You take like trim and wash, condition. You do
Not really. So my method is I shave my head and then Neutrogena my whole head. I usually like when I'm going into the office regularly, I do trim my beard. I keep a beard, but I trim it. It's pretty close. But yeah, this is the longest I've ever had my beard.
Need better lighting.
Hold on, watch this. Okay, Google.
For me
Turn on table lamp.
Oh. So the government can hear everything.
Oh, with the VR thing? Yeah. It's watching the camera's watching me now. So like anytime I fucking jack off, everybody can fucking see it.
Listen. Yep. We have a PlayStation, so I get it. I'm being watched even when I don't want to.
That's the world we live in.
That is really long. I can see it now. It is. If they wanted to know anything about me, they already did. So
yeah. No.
We have no privacy. I literally was trying to remember a cartoon from the 50s, like just drawings. And that's about how much I remembered of what I was trying to tell this friend of mine. And literally the next day, that cartoon popped up on like a Google suggestion. I'm like, it was horrible description. And it still knew what the fuck I was thinking.
That's like, insane, right? Yeah.
It's creepy, man. And her name was
so now we're basically all just hoping that all the fucked up shit that we do individually, the government knows that we don't mean anybody else any harm, and we just have to have faith that they're just going to let us do our fucked up shit.
Yeah. Some of us just have
and that's okay. Do you, as long as everybody involved is consenting.
You're not hurting others. Right.
And consent starts at 18 for people like us.
Yes. For people like you. Just kidding.
You in particular have to remember that rule. 18. Age is not just a number. No, not at all.
No.
That's horrible.
The outfit doesn't matter.
She's allowed to dress like she wants it.
I'm just kidding. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. She can say I want it, but don't do it.
No, I'm all about consent. That's to me, that's the sexiest thing is consent of an adult.
I like all this validation that's coming.
Yeah, I don't know. So, what do you think? How do you think you did? I think you did excellent.
I was nervous. I was like, can I talk this long about one thing? Can I sit still? Like, I'm an avid mover and a shaker. So
no, you cannot sit still, just so you know.
And I thought I did way better.
Or at least you haven't proven to me you can.
I sat in the same chair the whole time.
Have you?
Yes.
I thought I saw your house.
Oh, I did like sit the phone up.
And move around, and I think I saw a fucking limbo bar.
Oh, what?
You were like limboing somewhere?
I don't know.
Doing the cha-cha.
I like to be busy, and especially when I talk to people, it's even easier for me to buzz around the house and clean or work on a project. So it is super hard to sit still like this. So, oh, goodness gracious. But I think it went good.
Thank God there's podcasts.
Yeah, that I can listen to as I'm busy.
Yeah. And now you're on one. You're on two.
I know, 2.
3.
2
you're on 3,
in
actually.
a quarter.
And a
What are
recording.
we counting that as?
Yeah.
So
You're
yeah.
definitely on 3. But thank you for being here,
Oh
for
my
filling in
gosh,
for
yeah.
Scott. Yeah, I'm sure he's in lungs deep
Having a
in
good
some
time.
beast dick.
And those who want to see the verification on what it looked like can find it on your page.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, we don't really post video or pictures. But you can find her. She's on Facebook and Instagram.
You said you would do it.
I know. You know what? Getting this shit all together is on top of a job. I know. I could do more for this. I just wish. I don't know. I need an assistant. Is what I need.
An
I need an
assistant.
assistant to just post my videos.
How much do you pay?
Do you like Charleston chews?
Nope.
Well, then you're in luck because I've got 4.
Nothing. Hard pass then. Hard pass.
Well, that's the right job for somebody.
Yep. Somebody. I almost did it. I almost started saying it, and then I was like, maybe he'll do it.
I did it because
and you almost did.
because yay, just hands. Anyway, all right. Well, so yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for filling in for Scott. I think you did an excellent job. Do you want to do this again? Eventually, occasionally, whenever.
Yeah, for sure. Good time.
So when you tell all your friends to listen to the podcast you're on, where will you tell them to listen?
I tell them to listen wherever they love to listen to podcasts, but you can find us on our website, highermindspodcast.com, or Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, or you can even send the email at highermindspodcast@gmail.com.
Gmail.
Boom. Gmail.
Yeah. All right.
The email.
So if you couldn't tell, this has been the Higher Minds podcast, and I'm Papa Darby.
And I'm Katie. Matey. Arr. I remembered all those things separately.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Deuces.
Bye.